So this one is a little trip down memory lane. And it involves a person who I used to have a lot of respect for, and that's Cenk from the Young Turks. And the reason he kind of talks about it in this clip is because I got tired of people on the left just being weak and not fighting back. But you have to do that with integrity. And I think Cenk has fallen so far in that he's just become another partisan rather than a truth teller. And him and Anna's kind of opposition to the mainstream Democratic Party is so performative because they never oppose. You know, they fight with their cult when they're supposed to. They fight the good. At the end of the day, you know, they might tout people like AOC and the Squad or the Justice Democrats or the people that are out there, you know, actually opposing the power structures in the Democratic Party. But at the end of the day, they're going to tell you to vote for Biden. They're going to tell you to do what the party wants them to tell you to do. And what I've seen from Cenk in the last couple years since, you know, the Bernie left kind of split and a lot of the fakes went into the Biden administration, most all the fakes. And then you have this kind of balkanized, I guess, bits of the left outside of that. And frankly, the modern Democratic Party is not the left. It's literally neoconservatives pretending to care about, you know, social issues, or basically weaponizing the HR department. Like, oh, you're hateful, so we're going to cancel you and keep you out of the debate. And they do this. We'll talk about this a little bit more in depth later with what's happening to Roger Waters. But anyway, enough of my yapping. Let's watch this because this is just wow. Just wow. Just watch. Trip down memory lane here for you.
Joe, you were on Joe, I want to say 13 or 14. I don't know what it was. It was when you guys were on. That was fantastic, by the way.
Talking about Joe Rogan.
Yeah, it was a while back.
Yeah.
6, 7 years.
And by the way, there was a lot of admiration both sides when you guys were talking, because he was like, you know, the coming up, and that was before he was getting the.
Cenk was one of the first to do his own media company, independent media.
Kong, you know,
Young Turks was without a doubt one of the first to rise up in the independent media space.
Joe, something, I'd kick his ass. I'm taking it out of context. Of course, I'm assuming you were just kidding. You were upset about what he said. Can you unpack that exchange? Comments you made about Rogan.
Yeah, so I like Joe a lot, and we even grabbed lunch. We were friendly. I was thinking of. I even pitched him to be a host on a show we'd pitch to cable or networks, etc. Okay,
really?
And
wow, that's interesting. Then what happened?
And I like Joe's independent attitude a ton, right? Or what used to be an independent attitude, right? Nowadays, I think he's lost his way. So
this is someone who clearly hasn't been paying attention, who isn't watching or listening to Joe Rogan talk, but instead repeating the opinions of other people because he gets a check to do that.
He got captured by the right wing. He doesn't even realize it. Almost all his guests are right wing or fake left.
So Cenk's argument is that Joe Rogan's just too stupid to notice that he's doing propaganda for the right.
Left wingers who are pushing for right wing agenda. And so, he's surrounded himself with a wall of right wingers, and he's created a bubble. Bill Maher.
Who is this wall of right wingers that Joe Rogan is supposedly surrounded by? This clip is from 1 year ago, so you know it's around the time that Cenk threatened to beat up Joe Rogan, or you know a little after that, because Patrick Ben-David is kind of asking him to clarify.
Maher's the same way. A wall of right wingers. They're all their friends are right wing.
Okay, Bill Maher is a whole different animal. Bill Maher is more like Cenk, actually. Bill Maher is a bit of a shit lib who has the critical thinking skills to question authoritarianism. Let's put it that way.
Right. And so now he's not independent. He doesn't do both sides. He doesn't have real.
You think he's a
There it is right there. There's the giveaway. He doesn't do both sides. That's what this is about to Cenk, because he's very clearly been bought by a side, and that informs his opinions,
right wing?
Yeah, of course.
You think Joe's right wing?
Yeah, I do.
informs his worldview.
Yeah, and so is he
Right
right?
I love Patrick Ben David. He's like, you think Joe's right wing?
Where though, Cenk?
No, do I think he's right?
Right of
wing?
center or right of you?
No, right of center. Okay, but
Fantastic
okay,
question.
Bill
so-
Maher too, you're saying?
But again, it depends on the issues. So you can take an issue that Bill Maher is super liberal on and go, come on, you can't call him right wing, right? But I could show you 10 issues where he's just obsessed with cancel culture and only from the left wing perspective, not the right wing perspective. He loves, by the way, Bill Maher loves corporate Democrats. Okay, just loves them to pieces. So, so to me, on economic issues, he's same issues as all those corporate Democrats. Anyways, so Joe, it's a matter of emphasis. So I hear that he's pro-choice, but does he ever talk about that? Almost never, right?
Okay, again, this is someone who's clearly not paying attention. And his argument here is Joe Rogan lies by omission. This is complete and total projection. And it gets even better. The projection gets even better. And I'll explain in detail what I mean.
But on any right-wing issues, oh my God, trans rights, this, that, the other thing, he's like super animated about, right? Whenever it's a right-wing issue, he will spend hours and hours and hours discussing it. If he has left-wing positions, not a peep. There's a thing called audience capture.
This is the absolute dumbest line I've ever heard. Obviously, again, someone who's not paying any attention to Joe Rogan. I was just listening the other night to Oliver Stone, and they're talking about nuclear energy. Oliver Stone has a new documentary about nuclear energy and how distorted the safety of nuclear energy has been, probably by the oil lobbies. Just my maybe suggested opinion.
Where your audience starts to go in a certain direction, it starts to build momentum. Then if you try to change, all of a sudden your audience numbers drop and people panic. Okay?
See this?
Now Joe's already rich, so he doesn't have to worry too much about that. I think he got more guests captured than audience captured, but like guys like Jimmy Dore get audience captured like crazy.
Listen to I love how he weaves in. This is why I had to show this clip. He brings in Jimmy Dore, like just a subconscious, like, okay, the subject is totally about Joe Rogan, because Cenk is so angry that Jimmy is more successful than Young Turks is now. And the reason Jimmy's more successful than Young Turks is simple. He's not a hack. He calls it like he sees it. And if he's wrong, he apologizes. He's not in a cult like Cenk is. He's not paid by anyone to say things. And to Cenk, it's obvious this is frustrating because he's a partisan hack with no integrity. And so he has to attack people who do have integrity as right-wingers because they're deviating from the orthodoxy of his cult, the cult he belongs to.
Crazy. So once they, like Jimmy Dore used to be on the left, and he was doing, right? He was in our network. One of the worst mistakes I've ever made. And so
having him on?
Yeah, because he outgrew you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he goes independent. Now he's at one point he's doing pro-vaccine videos. He got a vaccine.
Okay, this is where he gives away
They're not doing that well, right? Then he does one that's vaccine skeptical. It does great. Okay, so all right. Then he does another one that's vaccine skeptical because he wants the views, he wants the money, right? And
So, okay, I'm just going to stop for just a second here. Cenk's argument, let me check my notes here, is that vaccine skepticism is where the money's at. Woo! That is some hilarious shit, my friend. Do you know, I got a content warning for talking about the COVID vaccine, like just making reference to it. I state clearly vaccine safe and effective, all the guidelines, got to listen to the CDC. And you should. I mean, that I'm not even being facetious about that. You should check the CDC. I'm not saying that should be your only source of information, but for the most part, I think that these institutions usually have good motivations behind them, or at least a group of people within that, that have those motivations. So I'm not questioning any of that. What I'm saying is it's ridiculous premise that vaccine skepticism is where the money's at. You will be instantly demonetized as soon as you dance in that minefield, Cenk. And you know that. And that's why this is such a clearly a projection where he's going, all I care about is the views and the money. And so it baffles me that Jimmy can be so honest and still outperform me. And Cenk, it's so obvious. It's so simple. Stop being a fake.
So all of a sudden, then next thing you know, he's on 20 videos against vaccines or vaccine skepticism, because that's where the audience is going. That's where the money is going. And that's how, there was a progressive in our network who said, look, the same thing happened to me. I was criticizing Democrats so much from a left-wing position, but I was criticizing Democrats. And one day I woke up and I found out my audience is right-wing. Like, I asked him a poll question.
No, what happened is one day he woke up and went, I'm not going to have a job anymore if I keep speaking my mind. So I better start sucking the TYT clitoris if I want to, stay on board here. That's what really happened.
Holy cow, these guys are like 70% right-wing. So he's like, I had to make a principled choice.
What's the one question I get asked the most? What pans do
Ad
you
break.
use at home? Well, today I'm ready to lift the curtain and tell
this
you
targeting is
that I'm using
massively
Hextad.
effective.
Do you really
Gordon
wanna see
Ramsay,
how good they are?
that
Watch
is something
closely.
I would use.
Hextad
I cook
is
quite a bit. So.
Choice there. And I did. And I cut off 70% of my audience. And I started talking more about my left-wing position.
Who does that? Who intentionally goes, oh, wow, I have a pretty big audience and that's a problem because they might think differently than me. So I'm going to make sure I do everything in my power to get rid of them. What world do you live in where this makes sense, Cenk Uygur?
Positions, not just anti-Democrat positions, right? So that's
the world he lives in, the partisan world, because he works for the party. So he has to follow those orders. And anyone who diversifies or strays from that on any level is a bad person.
Rogan, to your the specific
like Matt Taibbi
question. So now I have animosity with Rogan, but yeah, I was largely trolling them. Like and I said it very clearly too. Never in the streets, never any violence. Violence is crazy. But I was saying, if you want to step in the ring,
obviously, what would happen if you stepped in the ring.
Jake's out here like Axl Rose. Get in the ring. Get in the ring, Mo. I love Patrick Ben David too. He's like, you realize Joe would kick your ass.
You're not naive.
So would Joe have a massive advantage? Obviously, look at me. I'm 52. I'm very overweight, etc. But by the way, I don't think it would be a foregone conclusion.
You think you could take Joe?
Okay, now
Are you saying you can take Rogan?
Bro, one kick and decide you'd be peeing blood for a week. Have you seen his kicks?
I've seen his kicks. Okay. So listen,
I appreciate your confidence, though. I got to tell you.
No, but I'll tell you why I do it. Okay. So look, number one, I'm okay. A trained person is of course better, and by a lot, right? So, and a guy who's in shape is supposed to a guy not in shape by a lot.
Now he's got to rationalize his
I
way
would do tons
back
of
off
training,
this cliff,
and I'd still be a massive underdog. Okay, but I'm a brawler. And so it's not just that I fought my whole life when I was growing up, etc. It's the will in you, right? So if he's going to beat me, he's going to have to beat me.
He will beat you, though.
Yeah, and that's fair. And that's a fair conclusion to reach, okay? But my point is, I'm tired of people running over the left wing, okay? So if you're going to...
So this is the thing this is one of the reasons I think I was originally drawn to TYT. And Bill Maher, frankly, I liked liberals who weren't afraid to be strong about it and say, hey, you know what? Like, women's right to choose. Come on, stupid ass. This mic has some problems. So there's been a couple times I've been yapping my brains out and it's not picking anything up. And I thought it was just me forgetting to unmute or whatever. But anyway, point being is I wanted to hear people take a stand for gay rights, strong one, take a stand for women's rights, because it used to be that the religious right were the crazy ones. And now all those people have kind of moved into the Democratic Party for the sake of power because they know that's where the power's at. And so now all that's left of like the majority of the right now is the free thinking libertarian people who I'm obviously at this point, I'm a lot more aligned with than the neocons that run the Democratic Party. And Cenk is, you know, that's where he's getting his bread buttered. So of course he's going to toe this line, but let's get back to this. I'm just getting over a cold too. So you might see me hacking it up a bit. Trust me, it's not that the gas is that good. It's just that I still have a little bit of that chestiness going on, you know, like you hear that? Yeah, that's bronchial. That's what they call that. That's the adjective for that, bronchial.
Say we're weak, then fuck off and step in the ring. Okay. So step in the ring ideologically. That is what I would greatly prefer. By the way, I did this with Michael Smirkonish a long time ago on a HuffPost, right?
He's
talking shit
Axel
about
Uger over
the
here.
Russification of America. And I was like, all right, bitch, then either get in the ring from a debate point of view or get in the octagon or whatever you want, right? Because you're saying we're wussies, and I'm saying I'll kick the shit out of you, okay? So you tell me, you know what Michael Smirkonish did? He ran like a bitch, okay? And he went and cried to mommy, and he said, "Oh my God, he's threatening me." No, I said, "Look, I would never do it in the streets. That's nuts." Okay.
So just you have to understand too, Cenk, that the people who have to check, stupid ass mic. It might just be because I'm setting my arm on the cable. Who knows? I need to get a new cable. Whatever the case. The point I was going to get to here, full stop, is people who have to resort to violence to make a point are too dumb to debate intellectually, right? That's always where a conversation goes when someone can't beat you mentally. I've gotten into arguments with people and you know, mentally box them into a corner and had them go, "Let's take this outside." I'm like, yeah, you can't beat me mentally, so you think you're gonna fucking fight me now? I'll beat you that way too. But Cenk here, you know, he has to go with Joe Rogan. He's like, "I'll fight you, Joe Rogan." It's like, yeah, you'll lose that too, Cenk, because usually people with strong minds have strong bodies as well. It's a lot of people don't think about this, but your mind and your body are connected. So the health of both kind of intertwines. Anyway, let's keep going. You can see how animated I get when I get pissed off about bullshitters like this.
100% against violence, but you're not going to call us weak and get away with it. We're going to stand a goddamn post, and that's
he's saying, "I'm so against violence, but you're not going to call me weak without getting violent against you."
That's why the Young Turks are hated by the right wing, because we do not back down.
The Young Turks used to be hated by the right wing because they had kind of a growing audience and some integrity, but now they're part of the right wing.
We punch back. So the whole point there, Patrick, is rhetorical. I'm punching back rhetorically.
Yeah, but
and you also punch back below the belt like Anna did to Jimmy when Anna smeared him for Me Too shit because she couldn't debate him intellectually.
And by the way, that was how I took it.
Yes,
but that's not how the world took it. I'm
Yeah,
sure
I
you know that. There's a
Of
part of that was
course.
marketing. I get that. But
I like
let me
this
go
guy.
through a
I like
couple
Pat
of
but
these.
I like triggering the right wing. I like them being, "Oh yeah, no, wait, man, we're tougher." Really? I don't think so.
Bro, I don't think if anybody.
By the way, Alex Jones rated my set, right?
I remember that,
stood
yeah.
up,
Yeah, I
and
remember
all of
that.
a sudden, he wasn't so fucking tough.
That's when Jimmy
anymore,
spit
right?
water on him.
So all these
I did a
fake
video
tough
about that.
guys on the right wing.
Joe is not a fake tough guy, though, bro.
Jimmy's
I
lucky
get what you're
Alex
saying.
didn't
I
beat
get
him
what you're
down that
saying,
day.
but you know, and in regards to him being
But
right,
Alex doesn't need to get violent.
the guy said he would vote for Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, I
He's
thought
a-
you
he's
guys
a-
had found common
yeah,
ground on
Yeah,
that.
okay, he did, right?
Yeah.
And so that was like the last semblance of him being.
So again, this is how you know Cenk is a piece of it that works for the party. You heard what PBD said. He goes, "Yeah, how's Joe Rogan a right winger?" He said he'd vote for Bernie Sanders. He even had Bernie Sanders on the show. And Cenk's like, "Well, that was the last time he was left. That's the last time I paid any attention to him because the party told me to disown anyone who's to the left of them, and that's what Joe and Bernie Sanders are."
being independent. Since then, he's gone completely in the other
If
direction,
there is-
100% in the other direction. And by the way, he supported Trump. Trump's a lunatic.
Joe Rogan has never supported Trump. he is in conversation said, yeah, if you look at Biden and Trump side by side, Biden looks incoherent, like he's wandering around and doesn't know what he's doing. And Trump looks kind of like sharper mentally. That's the point Joe Rogan made.
So, I mean, you can't say you're
What do you
going
mean
to
he
vote for
supported Trump?
He said that look, if I'm wrong, I'm happy to retract it. But my
You're wrong.
understanding was he said he doesn't like either
So
option, but between Trump and Biden, he preferred Trump.
Oh, at the time,
okay.
okay.
No,
Yeah,
I think
that is
the
what he
way-
said.
No, I think the way he said it, is he thinks
he also said he voted for Biden. I don't think he voted. I'm positive he didn't vote for Trump in the last election.
Trump had a stronger way of dealing with things than Biden does. I don't think he said I would vote for Trump over Biden because
He could clarify. By the way, why doesn't he clarify? That's such an easy thing.
I think he does.
Tucker.
Why don't you clarify, Cenk? The guy's on tape for 3 hours a day. Listen to what he's saying, you freaking lazy clown.
Won't say whether he took the vaccine. Why don't you just say it? What's
Yeah.
wrong with you, right?
Yeah.
Joe, who'd you vote for? What's the big deal? I mean, you do a show that's got politics all over it.
Yeah.
Well, why would you be afraid to say who you voted for?
And if I remember with Jimmy,
Be a man.
somebody said it here as well, Vanessa Aponte. But by the way, Jimmy all of a sudden started showing up, and he had an adverse reaction to the vaccine, or something happened with the
he's
vaccine that
full
he
of
talks
shit.
about.
He didn't have any adverse reaction.
See, Cenk could not understand someone having any integrity because he doesn't have any. So he projects his attitude onto people like Jimmy and Tucker, as if they're the bad people.